Good evening, everybody. Would you please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Debbie, would you please take roll?
Committeeman Maringolo.
Here.
Committeeman Ray.
Present.
Committeeman Schuler.
Here.
Deputy Mayor Dorsey.
Here.
Mayor Paserchia.
Present. Before we start, I just want to say we lost two beloved members of our community this week. Lynn Combs, former administrator and mayor and dear friend to many, and Charlie White. At this point, if I could, I'd like Brendan to say a few words about Ms. Combs.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Thanks, Guy. Whenever we came to Millington some 24 years ago, I realized almost immediately that we had really arrived at the right place. Within a few days of moving in, Lynn and a few of our neighbours appeared at our front door, and rather than asking us to leave, they actually welcomed us with baked goods, home-baked cookies and pies. In her trademark quiet and unassuming manner, Lynn quickly made sure that we were integrated into the neighbourhood, and more importantly, into her social and family circle. As the years passed, I realised that my quiet, unassuming and humble neighbour had been and still was a major force in the township and beyond, as an elected official, the first female mayor, township administrator, and founder, active supporter, and or volunteer in some of our most cherished institutions. Just a short listing of the many positions that she held. She was a long-standing volunteer with the Visiting Nurses Association, and I'll always remember her at the V&A sales in the costume department, where she always welcomed me. She was appointed to the V&A Board of Trustees. She was a trustee emeritus of the Raptor Trust, and she served as a board member of the adult education program at Watchung Hills Regional High School. She was a friend of Long Hill Township Library, a volunteer hospice worker, a member of the Environmental Task Force 2000, a New Jersey League of Municipalities trustee, a Summit Area Red Cross Executive Committee, a Girl Scout leader, and a Morris County Youth Service Advisory Committee. And those are just some of the things that I know about. I'm certain there were many, many more. A testament to Lynn's humility is the fact that my realization that she was this great force within the town was not in any way fueled by her. Lynn, I truly believe, enjoyed being the unseen hand. She led from the background, shunning recognition for the satisfaction of knowing that she did the right thing and her job was well done. She revelled in family and community life, and her enthusiasm and joy were infectious. There are many volunteers and elected officials in this town and in surrounding towns who can trace the origin of their service to a conversation with or about Lynn. I am proud to count myself in that number. There have been and will be over the next few days, weeks and months, many tributes and testimonies to Lynn's life and achievements. For myself, all I can say is that if it's true, and I believe it is, that life is measured not in years, but in deeds done and joy given, Lynn's lifetime far, far surpassed that represented merely by her chronological age. She loved Long Hill Township, and her presence is greatly missed. For those who knew her, and for the untold legions whose life she touched, we can only take solace knowing that although she no longer walks with us, she lives on in her spirit by the example she set and the inspiration she provided. Our prayers and heartfelt condolences are with Lynn's husband, Bill, her daughters, Whitney and Elizabeth, and her son, Father Will Combs. Thanks, Guy.
Brendan, thank you. Would everybody please join us in a moment of silence for Lynn? Thank you. Carol Prasa, who was helpful in the testimony that Brendan gave as well, was also very close friends with Charlie White, and she was kind enough at my behest, and I thank you for doing so, to say a few words about Charlie.
Thank you. Charlie White died in his home in Millington last week. He was 92. What I am about to read is an abridged version of a testament written and shared with our community by Victoria McGrath, rector of All Saints Church, where Charlie worshiped every week. Many of you know Charlie and his story, and it is worth sharing with our community. Charlie was born February 5th, 1925. His parents moved to Millington when he was 2. Although the term was probably not used when he was a child, Charlie had autism spectrum disorder, making his communication skills difficult. He attended Long Hill Township public schools and later attended a residential school, eventually returning home to live with his parents. Charlie was not able to drive, but rode his bicycle everywhere, delivering newspapers and swimming daily at Sterling Lake during the summer. When his newspaper job ended, Charlie worked at a sheltered workshop in Cedar Knolls, making the round trip 5 days a week, taking 2 trains and a bus each way. Like many people with autism, Charlie had an exceptional facility for math and numbers. His favorite books to read were calculus books. During Charlie's father's last years, neighbors and All Saints parishioners began to cook and deliver meals to Charlie and his father and to do their laundry. That core group grew to a township-wide network of hundreds of caregivers over the years, which eventually became known as Charlie's Angels. Mr. and Mrs. White's support, education, and belief in their son's ability to live a full life and a good life is inspiring, particularly in light of the way people with special needs were perceived years ago. But it was Charlie's own intelligence, persistence, faithfulness, and drive that are real examples of a life well lived. One of his aides shared with Charlie's rector that as recently as a month ago, Charlie was still getting down on his knees beside his bed every night to pray. Charlie has given Long Hill a great gift, and he will be greatly missed. As you pray for him, please take the time to thank and pray for the Golden family who shouldered the majority of his care in these last years. Similarly, we should thank and pray for our neighbors and friends who are Charlie's Angels. Also, please pray that we may all remember what we have learned from Charlie: faithfulness, persistence, friendship, joy, and the wonder of God's work. Vicki McGrath asked me to extend an invitation to all to share in the celebration of Charlie's life tomorrow at All Saints Church at 6:30 p.m. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and members of the Township Committee, for your time and generosity to our community.
Carol, thank you for that wonderful tribute to Charlie. Again, please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you, Brendan and Carol. And anybody who knew Lynn and Charlie, this is a tough moment, so we have to carry on with this meeting, but I'm quite certain they're looking down on us, being sad here, and saying, get on with it. So get on with it, we will. Liaison reports, Mr. Maringolo?
Nothing.
Cornell?
Nothing.
I'll let Mr. Sweeney do the talking for the DPW since he's here. Fire department, I have nothing. However, I was in an unofficial capacity. I got to go to the DARE graduation on, when was it, last week sometime, with the 5th graders at Millington. I'd just like to congratulate the 5th graders. However, just seeing the way the 2 police officers that were picked to run the program, Officer Scal and Detective Sutton, the kids really responded to them well. They connected with them well. And just even the day after, I saw the Officer Scala was at the Little League parade just working it. And as the kids were walking up, everybody, hi, Officer Jeff, hi, Officer Jeff. So it was nice to see the respect and the admiration the kids had and the good rapport they built with the police officers. So whoever chose those two guys to be with that program, they did a great job, and it was really nice to see the kids and how everybody reacted and how much the kids really got into the DARE program. At one point, my son, who doesn't like to do homework, came home and said, I have DARE homework, I want to do it. So I even took the detective's son, I don't know what you told the kid, but he was actually wanted to do his DARE homework. First of all, I'd asked him why he's getting DARE homework in the first place, but it would just congratulate everybody, and nice job, Detective Sutton and Officer Scala.
Thank you, Matt. And Tom, you're going to be here with us. It's a relatively light agenda. You'll be with us, so we'll let you speak in a little bit. Brendan?
No report.
Okay, let's get right to the consent agenda. Looking for, well, any items you'd like to poll?
Yeah,
Discuss?
I think we should pull 179, because most of us are going to vote no to that.
Sorry, Tom.
Well, unfortunately, we're going to have to leave that in. Any others? Looking for a motion?
There is, well, let me just make,
I-
I have it on your thing. There's an amendment to 18180 on the liquor license. We're pulling the True Haven license. We haven't received the approval from the state on their petition yet.
And while we're on that, I have to abstain from that one item, 18180.
Okay.
I'm sorry, which one are we pulling, Deb?
The liquor license, True Haven holds a pocket license, and they apply to the state, and the state is a little behind.
Okay, thank you.
So we're not doing 180, or we're
No,
amending
we're
it?
just
we're
I'm
doing-
just amending it by
It's the
pulling True
last.
Haven Corporation
Pulling
Okay.
on the last page.
So I'll move resolutions 18-176 through 18-175 with the amendment to 180 as stated in the agenda.
Second?
Committeeman Maringolo?
Yes.
Committeeman Ray?
Yes.
Committeeman Schuler?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Dorsey?
Yes, I'm abstaining from 18180.
And Mayor Pacercia.
Yes. Debbie, you didn't give me my little yellow sticky, so you're letting me fly solo
I
here.
am. Everybody
see.
needs to fly solo, sir. Go to page 8.
Yeah. Yes.
You can do it.
Thank you. Thank you for your strong support there, Mr. Schuler. Second reading for adoption, Township of Long Hill Ordinance Number 419-18, an ordinance amending the Township Alarm Systems Ordinance. Jack, I know we've already discussed this, but there were some minor changes made, I think at the recommendation of Chief Naga.
Yes, that is correct, Mayor. With respect to the penalties, well, two things. One, we took out the proper maintenance, that was redundant. With respect to the penalties, we put, before it was pretty open-ended, so now we have for alarms 1 through 4, false alarms 1 through 4, there's no penalty. On the 5th violation, there's a $50 fine, and 6th and succeeding violations is a $100 fine. So this really just clarified the ordinance that had been in effect.
Any member of the Township Committee? No? All right, so I'd like to open this up to any member of the public to discuss this ordinance at this point only. Questions or comments are welcome. Seeing none, looking for a motion for approval.
Move ordinance 419-18 as stated in the agenda upon
Se-
second reading.
Second.
Committeeman Maringolo?
Yes.
Committeeman Ray?
Yes.
Committeeman Schuler?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Dorsey?
Yes.
Mayor Pacercia.
Yes. So we'll go right into the discussion items. If I could, I'm just going to go to the second one first. Ms. Barbara Grillo is in the audience. She has done a lot of work on this topic, and we are thankful for it, regarding veterans banners. And I don't want to steal your thunder or summarize it, so I think you'll be able to speak for yourself.
Mr. Mayor, members of the Township Committee, thank you for inviting me here this evening. As Mayor Pacercia said, I am Barbara Grillo. I taught for 41 years, so please indulge me a moment with a way I used to start class. Can anyone answer Mrs. Grillo's question tonight? Who is Jack Jacob? And the Township Committee, any of you?
Jack was whispering under his breath.
I know who he was.
Okay. Mr. Jacobs is a Vietnam War hero who lives in Millington. He has 2 Silver Stars, 3 Bronze Stars, 2 Purple Hearts, and was awarded by Congress the Medal of Honor. I don't know how many towns in New Jersey can make that statement about any one of their citizens, but Long Hill can. Our fathers, grandfathers, brothers, sisters, all responded when they were asked to serve. They went to World War I, World War II, Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan, and they deserve to be recognized for their service and their sacrifice. In a little over a week, my cohort, Sue Schumann, and I raised $3,000 for the banners. We had to form an LLC to use for this project. This project is spreading across the United States. Our goal is to honor our veterans. Then if we have money left, we will honor our fire departments, companies, our first aid squad, our police department. Many towns have done this. The firefighter banners are usually placed on the streets around their house. Summit, New Providence, Berkeley Heights have their banners. I've talked to their committees. In New Providence, Detective Mike Hand spearheaded this program. The brackets were ordered from a company owned by a veteran. Group orders for the brackets were given at a discount. New Providence decided to get the Cadillac of the brackets. They're approximately $100 a set. The town was convinced by Detective Hand to pay for the brackets as the Chamber of Commerce, the businesses, and the holiday brackets would be on for a greater percentage of time than the veterans. Holiday, shop and dine, welcome were made by Clearpoint Designs at cost. There is no charge for the setup or the design of the banners. The banners are 2 feet wide, 5 feet in length. Full shipping. The standard price for those banners is $125. It is owned by veterans, and since we are doing for the veterans, they will honor the rock bottom price of no profit of $67 a banner. Officer Hand said he hoped for about 20 or 30 to respond to him. He had first run 80 banners. Production time was 2 weeks. They used the street lights and the telephone poles. And if you use telephone poles, you're required to report to JCP&L or to Verizon, whoever owns the pole, for permission. I know this would put a burden on DPW to do this, and if they are not able at the time to do it, Long Hill's bravest and finest have volunteered their services and would be honored to do it. Did you know that, Mr. Ray?
I did not know that.
You did?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Brenda's a little clumsy, so I don't know. We may have to
No.
find some others.
I also have procured through Edgar Act, he will get an Eagle Scout candidate to map out the location of each banner. This serves 2 purposes. If we can get a link set up to the Township Committee website, anyone that comes from out of town can click on that and see their grandfather is flag number 6 on such and such a place. Also, DPW then does not have to worry about placing the banners exactly where they should be. They will always be flying in the same exact location. So that would just have to be added to and updated as we add the banners. Basically, this is what I would like supported. I know some people think they should be smaller. I've heard they wanted them to be the size of the banners that were for the anniversary. You won't see anything. There's just no way you'll see it.
Now, Barbara, you and I have had a conversation on this, but I think it's important to express it to the committee and to the public. The banners, and I think you referenced it earlier, in Summit, New Providence, and Berkeley Heights, it's the same company, so the banners that many of us have seen there are the
Yes.
size that you are describing.
And those are the size I've seen in every state where I have traveled, and they had them hanging up,
How big are they?
2 feet by 5 feet.
They're still up on Springfield Avenue if you want to look.
Yes.
Saw one. Yep.
They're beautiful. And just a word of advice from the woman that makes them, Lisa Barfield. She said some people will call up and said, I wanted my father's rank, sergeant, capital SGT. She must adhere to the military code as to how they label a position. Some of them use capital S, lowercase GT. Some of them use all caps. She said, I cannot produce a banner that is in violation of the military code. And I have a ally now in Long Hill Township Police that is willing to help coordinate some of this. Chief Naga has assigned me an officer, and I'm not sure of his pronunciation, Marcheska. And we sat down for about 2.5 hours and went over this. And I would hope you would allow us not to look like the stepchild of the country by making a smaller banner. These can be worked out. And I have a bag filled with the applications. I'm getting at least 10 applications or inquiries on my email every day when I wake up.
So I think the first two questions are size and location.
We want to do a T. Berkeley Heights and New Providence have now developed the T. They have it on, well, Springfield Avenue, which then becomes Valley, and they have it on Central Avenue, which is the crossing
Right.
on it. We could do Valley Road and Main Street up through Central.
Don't be afraid, Dennis is harmless.
And many of the families.
Tom, while we're waiting for Dennis, and thank you, Dennis, for changing the batteries, how many poles are there on Main Street?
40.
The new poles?
40.
40?
No, there's 20 poles.
Well, I checked with Al today. He said there were 40
There's
on
40
Main.
in the 4-block area. 5 times 2 times 4.
So
But a 2-foot by 5-foot banner will not fit on those poles. It'll hang too low. They're on the sidewalk side. And
Okay.
we have small banners there as it is right now. So you would have to at least do a telephone pole if you're looking for something that size.
Okay, so that's going to be a challenge. I mean, Main Street would have been
Because those are
ideal.
lower light poles.
Main Street would be ideal because that's where.
Many of the families have requested they would like their father, their son, their brother's flag hanging near their house or the street where they are. You can do them on the telephone poles. Some have the flag, the American flag on the pole or the veteran flag on the pole, and the other one is the alternate, the American flag between it. We just have to get permission from JCP&L, and if they've given it in other towns, I don't think they would deny us.
Okay, I don't think we'll be able to figure out the location tonight so
No.
easily.
Yeah.
But I think what you would like, maybe authorization this evening, is the size.
Absolutely.
How many brackets do you think you'll need, Barb?
You need one on the top.
No, I
and
know
one
that,
on
but
the
how
bottom.
many do you think you're gonna need? I know you need 2, obviously.
Right. There are cheaper banners. Detective Hand said there are cheaper banners.
No, no, I'm saying for what you want.
brackets.
I'm not trying to cheap out on you here.
Right, but depending upon, what you want. I just got a call, I have another $500 donation on the works.
Good.
I mean,
How much money do you, let's get down to logistics here, because I don't think anybody here is going to say no. I mean, it's a great idea and it looks nice. You have what, about 3,500 now approximately?
Approximately.
So how much money more do you need to get where you need to be?
Both towns said when they hit $4,000,
Okay.
they went into production, and then they also, when people saw it, they got a second surge and had $5,000.
All right, now, next is how does somebody, if they want to donate, get in contact with you, or in the alternative, get a copy of the application to submit to you or Mrs. Schuman?
I had everything in the newspaper, I'm getting phone calls, I am getting emails daily.
All right, so if
And-
somebody emails you, you can email them back the
I
application.
email them back.
Perfect.
I acknowledge it. Some of them have sent me pictures on the computer, and I email them back, we cannot use those. They're not crisp enough. So they deliver them, I have my doorbell ringing, and they deliver them to me, and I've taken them, copied them, and then I hand deliver them back to the owner. It's not that I don't trust the US Postal Service.
No, it's-
I'm afraid of it being bent or ripped or whatever in the process.
And just for everybody that's watching at home, can you give us your email address too, so that people can get a hold of you?
BEG,
Is it beg51 at AOL, is that what it is?
that's what it is.
That's what I thought, okay. So basically, everybody, if anybody's interested, or wants to make a donation, or both, please contact Barb at beg51@aol.com.
I'm not charging, I don't want any vets to pay for their own flag. That's not in my agenda.
Could I interrupt for a second? I'm a little confused here. What are you asking of us, and how many banners are we talking about?
I don't know at this point because I have to figure out, husband and wife usually go back to back, brothers, but as Detective Hand said, please make sure they're not feuding. They had to redo a few banners because two brothers found they were on the same banner and weren't happy about that. Otherwise, you just pair them up.
So you don't know how many banners we're talking about?
Not at this point. As I said, I've responded to 10 people this morning
Okay.
until they give me back,
Oh.
but I do have a whole group here.
No, I think it's a great program. I'm just a little confused as to what's being asked of us.
I just want you to approve the size and that I can, get them up in some way, whether it be through DPW or if they're too busy with when it's a snowstorm or whatever it is going on, that I do have backup. And they will,
So, the banners are too big, I just heard, for the poles that we already have on Main Street that hang too
then
low.
we just have to get permission
Right?
for the,
So, the question I have is, could we do one size on Main Street and a different size on Valley?
that's like giving one child in the party 2 scoops of ice cream and the other one a scoop and a half. You're gonna start all kinds of problems with that, I think. I don't think it would be really nice to do it. I would rather put them on the telephone pole,
So
if
we,
that were
we,
the
we
case.
have,
But we don't know how many telephone poles there are there, do we?
I don't know. I can go down tomorrow and count them. Drive by and
But
count.
it depends on Maine we're talking.
Right,
Maine's
so-
the perfect location. Valley's troubling in my mind only because it's a 40-mile-an-hour road, and I don't know who's going to be able to see those banners.
They're already on the
Yeah.
phone anyway, so what's the difference, so?
Actually, we were driving on a road similar to Valley Road, and people actually, stopped, slowed down, and were looking at those banners when you see them.
I think those are logistics that will work out. The main thing you need from us is authority, or whatever the word is. I don't want to use the word permission,
The
to bring it
blessing-
back to school
The
days.
blessing
right?
of the committee to make it 2x5s.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the 2x5s, and I don't know the speed limits along those roads, but I think it's similar to Valley, maybe 5 miles an hour difference. And and you can see them.
You can,
Oh, yeah,
okay.
and
Yeah, they're
they're-
too small, you're not gonna be able to see
Yeah.
them.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
That is
Right,
a-
but
that's a-
Main Street's slower, so,
Yes.
and we already have the poles there. It would seem to me that smaller ones on Main Street would make sense, and larger ones on Valley Road. I mean, I get it, she doesn't want to do that, but that would seem to make sense to me.
I don't want someone to feel, because of where their banner was placed, they were being slighted.
And it's gonna be more not expensive, but you
And
do-
I don't know, that
You start
price
changing
is
sizes.
for the standard 2x5.
No, I understand
When
that.
you start changing, and she's got to figure out which ones are going to be going through which printing, that's
Yeah, I-
probably going to change the price.
Well,
I think this should be
understand that.
symmetrical, no
And I
matter what.
think,
Yeah.
I don't want anyone to come back later on and say, well, I didn't realize it was going to be that much smaller than the rest of them. My father deserves the same size.
So can we, and if we can agree, I don't want to put words in everyone's mouth, but if we can agree on size tonight, we can worry about
The rest of the
location
logistics in a little
later.
bit.
So, well, if we're going to put them on telephone poles, is there anything that we can do to hasten that?
Well, we can call JCP now, but
Right.
in the other towns that you referenced, are any of them on telephone poles?
Yes.
Well, there's no way JCP&L is going to give authorization in
Well, they might
one
be
town.
PSE&G in the other towns, we don't know, but I don't think JCP&L is gonna give us a problem.
You know what, we'll check with both JCP&L and PSC&G.
Right.
But you did say somewhere in the beginning, though, you were hopeful that the town might provide some funding, or no, this is all private?
For the brackets, if you would like, so that everything I've raised for the veteran flags can go to flags. And this happened in New Providence. The Township Committee took some of the money, and DPW donated some of theirs and paid for the brackets. And they had the Cadillacs. They were $100 a set. There are, as I said, a lower priced bracket.
Right, but we don't know how many brackets you need.
At this point, no, but they ordered originally 80 sets, and then they had to reorder, because once they go up and people see the actual banners,
Right.
he said that again,
Right, but we don't know how much we're talking about.
well, I could call you up tomorrow and tell you what I have so far as a request.
Okay, that would be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to get an idea of how many we might have
Initially,
potentially and the cost of the version that we might buy, right? So that we know what the whole number is before we make a choice.
So Barbara, you said in that regard, the sort of the best were around $67 or $100?
no, that's the banner.
Oh, the banner, okay,
The brackets
the brackets.
were 100. And as Detective Hand said to the Township Committee, you're going to be using them for the holiday decorations. You're going to be using them for the shop and dine type, where the veterans are only going up in November and May, and sometimes they leave it till June for D-Day.
Well, not necessarily, because the stuff that we have fits the poles that we have already, the banners on Main Street. You're talking about putting them on telephone poles, which would be much higher. So,
But if
so we
it's
wouldn't be
again-
using those for the stuff that we already have,
Okay?
because
But
the
if
stuff we have is
enough
smaller,
money,
right?
if we have enough money, we'll buy new banners, bigger banners.
That's fine, but I'm just
No.
thinking through this. It's not really that we'd be using the current ones, I mean, the ones that you're talking about for the current banners, because they're smaller, they wouldn't fit. Right?
Right, but you could also.
So we'd have to replace them all.
Yes,
Yeah.
but many of the ones that we had on Valley Road this past winter weren't functioning. The lighting didn't function on them, and they were pretty worn.
Yeah,
I mean,
I understand.
you're gonna win.
So
This is not a win-lose.
I know.
This is just understanding the program and how much money we're talking about.
Right.
Just trying to get all the details here.
But once we get through with all the veterans, we would like to enhance.
Okay, so I think, I mean, what,
Just one quick question. That's
Sure.
the $100, is that for both?
Yes,
Right, so for each banner, it would cost $100 to hang it?
on the Cadillac of
On the very
brackets.
base one? Okay, thanks.
all right, I mean, can we just take a straw poll? I don't know how you want to do it, Matt? Brent?
I have no issue with it, I think it's a great idea.
Well, I'd like to kind of wait until we know what numbers we're talking about here. Because right now, we're just kind of saying, let's go for it, but we don't
No,
really
no,
know
what we're
talking
saying
about.
is size.
Right, but that would dictate how many we're talking about, right? Because if we're talking about the larger ones, we're talking about replacing everything. right? If we're talking about using what we have existing, there could be some combination,
Can't.
right? I'd like to know the numbers first.
I mean, conceptually, I'm there with the size of the banners. We just need to have some idea of numbers so that we can determine what we're going to do with the. about-
I mean,
about the
you know,
cost.
at a
I'm
hundred,
not saying, Mr. Mayor, that you have to pay for the brackets. We'll raise more money if we have to.
We're just trying to figure out forget about the money, we're just trying to see logistically how it's gonna work out. It's not even a money issue at this point, at least for me. I mean, if Mr. Sweeney's here, he's on the payroll for another 2 days, I might as well ask him some questions, so. You can't hide. The existing poles, I mean, the posts that are up there now clearly can't, they don't fit the 2x5 banner, correct?
No, because the banner would hang
Too low.
It's on the sidewalk side and people would walk into it.
Okay,
And it's too low to put on the street side because vehicles would hit it.
all right, so if
The
they,
main is you need a small banner on Main Avenue light poles.
all right,
On telephone poles, you can go with a larger one.
that,
But we don't know how many poles they have, and it might not look right with the streetscape you have now with those small poles.
got it.
Yeah. So Tom, I mean, with the streetscape, you mean we obviously can't use the light poles that we have, right? That's out. But you're saying if we use the poles,
Telephone.
the telephone poles, it might not look right?
If you went with a 2-foot by 4-foot banner,
Mhm.
you could use all those existing brackets, because every one of those poles has a bracket on them. You just have by banner. But if you don't want to go that small, you're gonna have to go on the big poles or somewhere else.
Right.
You know, I mean, I think, as Brendan said, conceptually, we're 100% on board.
oh, yeah.
Why don't we just reflect upon it just a touch? Because if you're walking on Main Street, and I'm all in on the larger banners, but if it's not practical there, you're talking about a street where you're walking. Maybe it works on Main Street, where they're all, and there are 80 poles? 80? 40. 40, I apologize. I mean, you may run out of poles, and then when you move on, I don't. So the answer is absolutely. The question is, how do we get this to work best?
Yes.
But if they're back-to-back, you get 80, right, isn't it?
Well, because they're back-to-back as long as they get along or didn't know each other kind of thing.
You get 80.
You could get 80.
Right.
Look, I know you really prefer the larger ones, and there's nothing we can do that can honor these people enough anyway. So, we put it, make them enormous if we could, but we have to make it work. Where what you want to do is to honor these people and for those to see it. I mean, I would prefer Maine only because people walk there. They can stop, they can see it as opposed to driving and slowing down. I don't know. I mean, does anybody?
I don't know, if you not come up, but maybe just do a little survey, take a walk or drive up and down Main, and maybe take a ride up and down Valley Road and see what's available pole-wise, light pole-wise, and then maybe figure out logistically like that. I mean, it's a great idea, it's a great program, we want to help you, we just want to get it right the first time.
When I was driving the other day, near the shopping centers, we have the light poles. When you get down past a certain point,
It's telephone poles.
it's telephone poles. So we're going to have to put them on the telephone poles in that section, which is, I guess, the end of Sterling and the beginning of the Millington.
Yeah, if you could do some kind of survey, just so you know, hey, there's this many telephone poles between Town Hall and Northfield Road, for example, or there's this many places we can hang them on Main Street between High Gear, what was High Gear, all the way up to maybe Central School, whatever you want to do. So just at least so we know, that might help narrow down what our options are. And then we're not just talking in the abstract.
Yeah.
Does that sound fair, Barbara?
Sure.
Okay.
It sounds fair. I just don't want to have two different sized banners where
No,
one
no, I-
family
I-
that's why we
feels
wanted.
Yep.
slighted.
But 80 is a lot. I mean, if we can get, because it's 40 poles back to back, that's 80.
Couldn't do it back to back, back.
I thought we discussed back to back.
You can only put them on the sidewalk side. You put them on
No,
the
no,
street?
no, no.
No, you mean
No,
this,
no,
the
no.
banners
We're
are
printing the
two-sided?
pictures back to back.
Okay.
It's one banner,
Two-sided.
but one person is on one side and one the other.
I mean, I know your vision is we have 1,000, but,
I am just thrilled every day to wake up and see 10 or 15 people wanting to have their uncle, their father, their brother.
we join you in your joy.
And, you know, I don't want to look like the stepchild
I know.
Yep.
that can't do it the way the rest of the world is honoring these people.
But we have a somewhat challenging town. We don't really have a downtown, so it's, you know, Main Street is evolving a little bit that way. We're just trying to figure out how to make it work, I think, as Matt said.
Yeah.
So we're going to look at the number of poles, telephone poles we have, and we know the number
And/or
of
light
and
poles
then we'll
and-
take it from there. And if we can do it on telephone poles, that would be my preference
Yeah.
too, actually, just to have the larger banners.
That's fine with me.
Thank
I
you,
just
Barbara.
want to get these up.
I know you do. By Veterans Day.
Yes.
I know.
And then I think it's a win for you because if we put then our businesses on there, eat and dine or shop or whatever, it's helping publicize what we have in town.
Absolutely.
And even the holiday banners will improve both areas.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
So let's move on. I think I see Mrs. Scanlon in the audience. What we'll discuss here is a proposal for recreation department logo. I know many towns, if not all towns, have a recreation logo. We do not. Lisa doesn't do enough as it is. She only works 24/7.
Hello,
Hi.
I'm Lisa Scanlon, Parks and Rec Director for Long Hill Township, for those at home. I just wanted to take a couple minutes of your time tonight, and so thank you for indulging me. I wanted to explain to you how we got to this point. I know a few of you have met Danielle McClear. She's my recreation assistant, and she came up tonight to hear this because we both feel pretty passionate about branding the recreation department and coming up with different ways to reach out to our residents and the community. When Danielle started with me back in November, one of the first things she said to me was, how come you don't have any kind of special logo for your rec department? And Danielle joins us, she used to work in Springfield Recreation, and she said she had worked there on their logo in Springfield. And so she said, well, why don't we do that? And I said, really hasn't made it to the priority list, you know, and haven't had the time. And I said, go for it. Give me some ideas, start finding out what other towns have, and, you know, tell me what you think looks good, crisp, you know, something that has a good beat and we can dance to it. So there was a number of logos that she brought back to me, and we started going through them, playing with them, and as luck would have it, we happen to have a graphic arts designer on our rec advisory committee in Trish Giannakis. You know Trish, Trish got here. So Trish stepped in to help us with this. We kind of told her some of the things we were thinking about, and she helped us with coming up with some different things. One of the towns that we looked at was Summit Recreation Department. Summit is, since I started here, has kind of been, they have a phenomenal recreation department there. They're very much into community programs, community outreach, and it was always like, when I grow up, I hope I can get Long Hill to the Summit level of recreation. So in Summit, they started off by coming up with a program, and this is what they ended up with. This is their recreation logo. And what they did was they also added something called Shark Diddy. So Shark Diddy is their mascot that goes along with it. It's a shark costume. So you find a person that's going to, I don't want to spoil the fun, but a person is inside there. So, so that was, and whenever I go to all these recreation seminars and things, the rec director gets up and starts talking about what Shark Diddy's doing out there. They use Shark Diddy a lot at the community pool, which is a big deal in Summit for them. And it got us thinking along those lines. And we felt that getting our own branding could only enhance the identity of the recreation department, make it a little bit fun, getting a mascot, using it to communicate different messages and things. There's a lot of different ways we can use a mascot and a logo. It doesn't have to be attached to a lot of marketing dollars behind it. It's pretty simple. So one of the things we were talking about is we could use it on our stationery to help brand the rec department. We can use it on electronic communications to help brand, promotional materials, signage, social media. Social media is something where it takes some time. I always say you could have a full-time marketing person, but there are some simple things to do that we're trying to do. When I first started, we said, okay, I can manage one thing in marketing. So we said, let's make the website the go-to and bring it inbound marketing and have everybody go to the website, make sure that looks good. Now we started talking about doing something like Instagram. So I've had my tutorial, my Instagram for Dummies, and thankfully Trish Giannakis is also helping me there to understand that a little bit, because it's kind of my audience there for a lot of my programs are looking at Instagram. And there's Facebook opportunities, things like that. And so we now just launched our own Instagram for the rec department. So if you all go to Long Hill Parks Rec, yeah. There is a couple posts on there already, messages that we're trying to get out in the Parks and Rec department as we go into our busiest season. So this is the logo that we came up with. I think you all saw it on your email, and thank you to Trish back there for kind of really taking some of the ideas that we had and making it kind of fun for the rec department. Can you get it there, Dan? You got it? Ready?
Got it.
Wonderful. And I just kind of played with it a little bit, put it on some stationery, put it on, we have the recreation e-blast that we use from the website. People opt in for that. These are two posts that we had this week in the Instagram account. One of the things that we've talked a lot about, and we try and talk with the kids a lot about, is recycling plastic because of how much plastic ends up in the oceans. They're saying only 1 out of every 6 water bottles is making it into a recycling plant. The rest of it are ending up in landfills. So that's one of the big pushes. So Rebel posed for us today out in the rain with some water bottles, just as a message to clean up all the water bottles, because it's something that we fight on the athletic fields. So we want to see everybody using reusable water bottles as much as possible. So at any rate, that's why I wanted to come to you tonight. I wanted to see, I don't want to just go rogue on you and go out there with this message and not have it with your blessing. And we would use that logo in tandem with the Long Hill Township seal as we have been.
And Rebel's salary, image, all that
Remains zero.
Remains zero?
Remains zero.
So we can double it if you want.
Yeah. I figured. So, does anybody have any questions about it?
Any member of the committee, or?
I think it's great.
Yeah. We're just trying to bring some fun.
Lord knows everybody in town, I think, identifies the rec department with you and
I'm Rebel now.
Rebel.
So how does Summit use their shark? I mean, what does it show up on?
Like, Those are, I don't know if you want to pass that thing up.
Yeah.
That's the pictures. Judith, the rec director in Summit, she actually has like a life-size cutout of Shark Diddy. It's primarily used with their pool.
So,
but they-
so am I looking at the exclamation points here, or am I looking at the shark?
The
here?
shark,
This one?
yeah. So that fluffy furry shark that's there appears at different community events and things. They use a caricature of Shark Diddy in newsletters and things like that to announce different programs. Their swimming lessons are, they call them shark swim lessons or something to that effect.
So, do we need to acquire a
Rebel costume.
rebel costume? For Guy?
No, I think
some-
they
have
did that
somebody
in
run
the
around on all
absence of
fours?
having a furry shark. They didn't have one.
Any
So they-
idea, how did they get to a shark? I mean, they're landlocked.
I'm not, yeah, I don't know 100% how they got to Shark Diddy. I'm sure Judith could give you a real,
Maybe their swim team is
History
named
of it.
Sharks or something.
I just,
that could be.
I remember I went to a place in Berkeley Heights to pick up a sign that I had made, and the life-size shark was there. And so I begged the question, who's that for? And I started talking to them, and that's how I learned about Shark Diddy.
Personally, you do such an outstanding job with the rec department, I'm not going to question anything you think
Well, I
Will help.
appreciate the support.
help the rec department be even better, so I don't know how everyone else feels, but
It's great.
Yeah, roll with it.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. Thank you, and thank you to Danielle and to Trish, who are both here tonight, for being the energy and brains behind this.
is it now Rebel Diddy?
No, just Rebel. We're all good. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
Lisa.
for coming out.
Thank you.
And we have one more discussion item, and I apologize, I don't know who is is that you, or who's going to
No,
speak?
Joanna Askey.
Joanna, I see Joanna, and I thought it might be Joanna. Yep, I'm here. So, Joanna Askey, thank you from the Open Space Committee. The discussion item is a canoe launch pad,
Yes.
which I know we've discussed many times, but location was always the question.
Yes, well, this seemed like a good opportunity to maybe get some movement on this issue. So I'll explain why I'm here. My name is Joanna Askey. I'm here as a member of the Open Space Advisory Committee. And as you know, the Somerset County engineer is soliciting public input on improvements to be made on the Valley Road Bridge between Long Hill and Bernards Township. So the Open Space Committee plans to submit a statement recommending that an improved canoe kayak launch and parking area be a part of any improvement or redesign plan of that area. And I am here to ask the Township Committee for approval before we submit that statement to the Somerset County engineer.
Yes.
Great, okay. Wonderful, thank you. Is there anything else? Morris County Parks is on board with this. We spoke with them. This is something that's in the open space element of the master plan to improve access to the Passaic River. I think this would be a good opportunity to express some support for other recreational interests besides maybe some areas that we've typically supported, and I'm not talking about funding or anything like that at this point. It's just a
So
submission.
is the launch only going to be requested over at the bridge, or?
Well, ideally, since you ask, what we're requesting now, right now, what I'm asking you for approval for is just our submission, and I'm hoping this can come on township letterhead or something to that effect, so it's not just coming from the email of Joanna Askey to the Somerset County engineer. To have this incorporated, to have this considered in the redesign project for that area. Ultimately, I believe a planning goal for several groups in this town is to promote a little more use of the Passaic River for non-motorized watercraft, of course. And we'd like to start maybe looking at some of the open space areas that might provide us access to that. But we thought this is a good first step. This is a county-level project. We're putting this the suggestion out there, and that's why I'm here, just to get your blessing on that.
So, if I may, Mr. Mayor, I mean, I've been in that river several times with the Boy Scouts.
Yes, I've been in that river too.
We typically will launch up at White Bridge Road and come downriver. So having launch points is terrific.
Great.
Further downriver would be great because,
Yes.
you know, if you're launching up at White Bridge Road, that's a half-day's canoe, basically.
Right.
I do believe the land is on our side is owned by the county, and maybe Dennis can
Yeah,
confirm that.
that is county land, and that is why
So that would be ideal.
we've met with the county parks department about this. They are in support of this recreational use. With the county land, they have said that they would support.
Did they talk at all about desnagging the river?
We did discuss desnagging. Maybe we could talk, I don't know, if you want to talk about that.
I would love to.
You're here?
Well, this was last year, we spoke about desnagging. There does seem to be some uncertainty about where exactly snags are, how much snagging work has been accomplished, how much desnagging work still needs to be done. I think it's the opinion of most people who have been on the river that there's still a considerable
Lots and
amount of
lots and
desnagging work
lots.
that needs to be done. We can contact the county about that. I believe the Mosquito Control Commission was at one point doing some desnagging work. There was some talk about getting a drone to do some surveillance work to see where snags are. I have not followed up on that with the county yet, but that is something that they have invited us to.
We had a grant
with them
several
about.
years ago to desnag the river, didn't we?
And there was work done, but I think there were still some snags, and there's more snags that have been snagged up. I mean, I was in Berkeley Heights, and I saw some guys out with a boat, and like this guy is out with a boat and a chainsaw. I mean, you know, so people are out there desnagging, but I mean, I think we're talking about more of a county-level project, not.
Well, the problem is the snags are so large that
Yes.
mortal humans can't move
No,
those
no,
trees.
you need equipment.
Yeah.
But this is something, hopefully, that, you know, maybe some more, there have been desnagging efforts in the past, hopefully that will continue in the future, but that is something that we discussed with them, and, you know, frankly, it's something that we would need to follow up on at some point to really get an idea of where that stands. But we can do that.
And I have a call tomorrow with the Mosquito Commission about
wonderful.
about mosquitoes.
Okay, so maybe this
Lisa
is
Scanlon
something.
had mentioned it to me. I think most of our recreation areas, which are all near water, we have not had a chronic problem with mosquitoes. So I'll take that opportunity to bring this up as well.
Tell them the mosquitoes are festering in the snags. They need to remove the snags to get rid of the mosquitoes.
It's probably an accurate statement.
Yeah.
Okay, so for the next steps, I'll follow up with you about how it
The
is.
only question I
Yes.
have is, I mean, this strikes me as a recreation activity rather than an open space. Have
Mm-hmm.
you spoken at all with the Recreation Committee or with Lisa, our Recreation Director, to get
Yes, I've
our
spoken with
involvement?
Lisa, and I was told just to go ahead and come see you guys and do what I needed to do. So here I am,
Yeah, I mean,
doing
it
what I need to do.
sounds like a great idea.
And hopefully we can
100%
start
behind it.
getting
Yep.
some movement on this.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you.
Joanna, thank you for doing that. Mr. Lorber, we're not at the public session part just yet. That was just a discussion item. Don't worry. Well, we're almost at the discussion, the open public session, so we'll get there. Just give it a second. Yeah, of course, you can talk about any topic in public discussion. Yeah, just hold off for about 10 minutes. No, wait 10 minutes. We'll get there. Nancy, let's go right to the administrator's report, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a short report. I was informed today by Dennis that the bike race is canceled for this year, and next year's in question. I don't know if you want to ask him about that later, but I just figured I would announce that because we've had quite a few discussions about it here at these meetings. The rest of my report is an update on various projects that are going on around town. The Mitchell Road Drainage Project is almost finished. A guardrail is the only thing that's left to be done, and that will be installed and should be finished next week. The Oaks Road Improvement Project has gone out to bid, and bids are due a week from today. The Long Hill Road Drainage Project bid you awarded tonight. So, as you know, that involves a drainage project that's been going on for years, or in the works for years. And we will be meeting within the next couple of weeks for a pre-construction meeting to plan out how that's going to go. Messer Cola, I believe, is the one who was the successful bidder. And then finally, there was a pre-construction meeting today on the Northfield Road ramp project. That involves 5 sidewalk ramps that will be improved at Central School, on Mercer Street, on Elm Street by St. Vincent de Paul Church, and one on Northfield in front of Millington School. This was, you'd questioned, Committeeman Schuler, you asked why we were doing this now. And I think I explained it in an email after the last meeting. The Department of Transportation decided after they had already approved the plans that they wanted these extra ramps put in the vicinity of the paving project, but not directly in the project. So they're in the neighborhood. So they're holding some money hostage until we do this. So the project will start on June 25th after school is out and will last 5 to 6 days, weather pending.
That's
That's
it?
all I have, yeah.
My goodness. See, Mr. Lorber, I told you we were going to be quick. Let's go into old business, new business?
None.
None? Matt, Cornell, Bruce? All right, couple of announcements, and there's a skin cancer screening too, July 9th and July 17th. The information is on the website. Do we know where it will be held?
I do, I don't.
Okay, and while you're doing that, UPS sent out an email to, I guess, all elected officials, and I would like to announce it. They have an open house on June 16th, this Saturday, 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. in Parsippany, 799 Jefferson Road. Anybody who have questions on that, maybe they can call here, or we can put the information up. They really, really need full-time workers. They are hiring package handlers and package delivery drivers. And it's become so extreme, I think, that my poor son was walking into, I don't know, Old Navy or something like that, and the UPS driver went up to him and said, "Do you want a job?" So, I mean, these are full-time jobs, a tuition assistance program, medical benefits after 1 year, 401k savings plan, et cetera, et cetera. So anybody that might be interested in it, I guess please reach out to Town Hall if they could. They also have a website, maybe it's easier that way, www.upsjobs.com. And will you wait? There you
Yeah,
go.
the skin cancer screenings are held at the Fellowship Village Wellness Center in Basking Ridge on Fellowship Road. And the registration started at the beginning of this month, and there's some parameters, so go look up the information about who's eligible.
On our
to go
website.
On our website.
All right, so the dates are July 9th, July 17th, so you have some time to plan that. At this point, what I will do is open up the meeting to the public. Remarks, statements pertaining to any matter. Please, if you could, try to limit your remarks to 3 minutes. The floor is yours, Mr. Lorber. You pushed Trish out of the way on your way up here, though. I saw that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm joking.
Hello, yes. I just wanted to input the fact that I've heard about a similar plan, and I don't want to mention any names on mic because that doing so might not be appreciated, but a similar plan regarding development of a boat landing on the Passaic River in town, and it focuses on the Tom Bear, well, there I already mentioned a name. Sorry, Tom.
Hi, Tom.
It focuses on the Tom Bear property, which is riverfront, and property just north of the Bear riverfront property. I don't know who owns that further property, but part of the talk, and I'm way on the outside of it, and I just happen to have heard of it. Part of the talk involves, part of the development will involve inclusion of, or likely inclusion or prospective inclusion of a boat landing, a boat dock there. So you might want to coordinate this planning with that planning. I just couldn't sit here and not mention it. So that's about all I have to contribute. Logically, I would think there should be some coordination between the prospective plans, the parallel planning. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lauber. And Mr. Sandow?
The announcement that you needed to make is that on July 11th, that's 4 weeks from today, the First Aid Squad is having a blood drive. And those of us who bleed for this town's success will be there bleeding for the health of others.
July 11th. I'm just looking to see what day of the week that is. Looks like it's a Wednesday.
That's Wednesday, 2 to 8. Walk-ins are always welcome. There's more instructions on the
And it's at
TV system.
the squad building?
It probably will be on the board if it's not already, yeah. The other thing I'd like to mention is de-snagging. One afternoon, I was cruising the back streets of Sterling.
As one does.
That just doesn't sound good.
I drove past your house, Matt, and I got
Exactly, and I have 2 kids, so what you said.
I got as far as the Legion, and there was 2 Morris County trucks parked in the Legion parking lot. And I said, what's going on? So I pulled in, and it was the Mosquito Commission, and they were de-snagging the drainage ditch behind the Legion Hall.
I had no idea. I don't know if any...
It's a perfectly legitimate, it's part of the job, it's wet, it's a mosquito breeding ground, and they were doing the de-snagging. I watched them for about an hour, making very little progress. And the message is, if you consider all the miles of riverfront, not only the Passaic River, but the Rockaway River and all the other rivers in New Jersey, in Morris County, and then if you look at all the drainage ditches that have to exist, like the one behind the American Legion, you know, you're asking an awful lot of a very small organization to work their way through all of that in less than a 10-year cycle. And you gotta be realistic. If they have to de-snag the drainage ditches in Sterling for mosquito control, and if they have to do that in 38 other towns, when are they gonna find time to do the river? It's just a matter of practical, and you guys know money doesn't grow on trees.
And the grant Bruce mentioned earlier, and Tom's out there, I forget where that grant was. Was it a state? That was a state grant, I think?
I think it was a state grant.
Right.
300,000 spread out over 12 towns.
And
We took over 100,000.
yeah, fortunately, Tom and I went to many of those meetings, and as it turns out, when we were looking down, remember we were down in Summit, and they were all saying, oh, look at that tree in our river. And we told them, you need to be quiet, and we kidnapped the guy from the state and came up here. We were way worse than anything downstream. But to Tom's point, 300 grand, 100 was spent right here, and it was a 12-town project. So anyway, that's a long-winded way of saying, Dennis, you're right.
My last item is a spokesperson for the residents of Passaic Avenue. We would like to hold you to your personal commitment to get that street paved before July 22nd. Thank you.
Oh, along with these snags.
I guaranteed it, didn't I?
You did guarantee it, and the fact that we're not gonna have a big event that day, doesn't change the guarantee.
Well, I was informed by Mr. Gallo, the DPW, and Mr. Sweeney can probably back this up, that the people that have the ditches that run behind their house down in like Passaic, Union Avenue, down there in Sterling, if they have a snag, they can call the county and get on the list, and hopefully they'll come out and do it.
Hey.
Sorry.
Is that accurate, Mr. Sweeney?
Oh, the county has a three-man crew.
Okay, but at least get on the list.
That's all they have.
All right.
Years ago, it was a big crew.
Yeah.
Three-man crew.
But as we know, if you don't ask, you're definitely
right.
not getting.
So if you have one of those ditches that runs behind your house and there's a snag, call the county and maybe they'll get to it, but at least you're in the line. with
And
you.
if I can, we had the paving company on to mill and pave starting July 9th. When we found out the bike race was canceled, we pushed it up to July 23rd. So it's not gonna happen beforehand.
Well, it's just a couple of days.
Was that personal commitment?
The debt unpaid. And if I hadn't, first of all, you're supposed to have it paved, and so it can settle for 3 weeks before the race. So it should be done in the next 2 weeks.
No race.
That is true.
And if you had it scheduled for July 9th, already that was too late. Now I've given you an out, you can't have the out.
Tom?
Good evening. Congratulations, Mr. Bashara, Mr. Ray, on successful running.
Thank you.
And since you're running unopposed, may I congratulate you on your win?
No, we're not
No,
unopposed.
we're not opposed.
Oh, there was
We're not
one.
unopposed.
That was the primary only.
You were in the
But I
primary.
didn't see anybody in the Democratic race. Anyway,
Yeah, we can't talk about that here,
that's not.
nonetheless.
Let us not. I saw in Sunday's, I believe it was Sunday's paper, that the Fed is granting New Jersey money for the storms in April and March, was it? May?
Oh, yeah, thank you.
So
It would have been nice
hopefully
if I
we'll jump in
announced
on
that.
That's a good thing. But you all know why I'm here. The parking lots of Millington, Sterling, and notably Gillette. So, Mr. Dorsey, you had brought up earlier that there's a dark corner in Gillette, and you'll see that as well.
You might know, I don't go over there at night. I'm not cruising the back streets of Gillette.
You will. And also, another question came up was, we didn't know if there were lights in the other parking lots aside from Gillette. So I did a little sleuthing. And I'll-
Not cruising, sleuthing.
Not cruiser anymore.
I can't see anything.
Oh, that's the idea. That's Millington that we're looking at here. And that's just the platform area.
That's the platform, yeah.
If you look at the next two pages, they're actually supposed to be side by side. Millington parking lot has 6 light posts. If you take it apart, you can actually overlay it.
Can I ask what time of evening you took these photos?
The last set of photos was about 9:45, so I think it was about the same.
Night.
Night.
It's nighttime, doesn't make a difference, it's dark. Well, I don't know what time the lights go off.
Oh, they don't go up.
They don't go off there 24,
The ones that are
Once it
there are
goes dark.
24, ones that are there, once they go on, they go on.
I'm sorry, Tom, it's your,
That's okay. That's Millington. The next, I'm showing you the Sterling parking lot, or at least part of it, just so you could, for reference. The next is the ride into Sterling. There's a light there. There's a light at the end of that path. Up in the tree to the left, across from the Sterling Station sign, there's actually 2 lights up in that tree, and they're maybe 6 or 10 feet apart. And looking back, now if you follow out the path logically, because there's an entrance and an exit, there looks to be another light there. So my counting shows that Sterling has 5 lights, even though it's a very small train station. The next shows, this is the Gillette sign. It's on the ground and has been since the storms. And though you can't make it out, it does say operated by Long Hill Township. This is a picture during the day, as you may tell, of Gillette. It's fine, it's nice and bright, it's good. If we look to the next picture from the same spot, this was at 9:45 at night this Monday. And there's still some light in the sky.
I am confused though, because if you go to the next page, and I've never parked in this lot,
That's fine.
there seems to be a light.
Headlights.
Oh, you know where I was going with that.
Yeah, those are the headlights from the car. If you look in the bottom right corner, you'll see the headlight in there.
You know what? The one picture does a disservice to what you're explaining.
Yeah, that's the
At
road.
least to me,
That's the
because-
road you're seeing. That's just our sign.
No.
He's looking at the Gillette station.
The bright picture is
yeah.
because of
Oh,
your
you're jumping
headlights.
ahead, cheater.
Yeah, it's your headlights.
So here's the parking lot. Here's the parking lot at night, and there's still some light in the sky. but you
This
can see.
picture, right, Tom? This is what I really should be
That is the
looking
one,
at.
yes.
Okay.
That is what Gillette Station looks like at night or very early in the morning. I turned my headlights on.
I got you.
Just my headlights lit up
And that was what time?
9:45 p.m.
What day of the week?
Monday.
With no cars in it?
Yeah,
Memorial Day, maybe.
it was this past Monday.
Oh, okay.
It's a good thing.
So, but there's no cars in the lot?
Well, there's one because it's going to come up.
Yeah.
The next picture you see is that dark corner, so-called, of the Gillette train station parking.
And that's the one you've always referenced, correct?
Yes.
That area.
Do you see the car in this picture? You don't. Go to the next picture. There it is.
I got it.
Found it. This car looks to me, has no front plate. Looks to me by the registration and inspection sticker to be a car from New York. And it has no town tag for parking. Parking Monday through Friday, not after a certain period of time, you're supposed to have a tag. Weekends and holidays are free. So what I'm trying to show you is that here was a car that no one could see, and especially since it's parked out of the way, even if you look into the train station driving by, you won't see it. You'll never see it. You actually have to illuminate it or drive through.
Okay.
And so that's the basic photo part of my story for you. I'm just
However,
saying-
if you're walking and you're 30 feet away from that car, you'll see the car.
Perhaps.
Photographs don't do well at night with the light. I mean,
But when you look at the other train stations, you can see from 150 feet away.
Understood, but those are also, right, Millington is in the middle of a commercial district for the most part.
These lights are ones that we supply.
I understand that, but they're in a commercial area. Gillette is in a residential community.
And I'm not asking
Right.
for it to be on par with 6 or 5
Right.
lights. I mean, the Sterling, that's not necessarily commercial.
Sure.
Sterling's not, and it has 5 lights, by my counting. I'm just looking for a couple of lights, just to take away the mystery of the darkness, because things can happen. Black ice, you can't see that unless it's illuminated, and even then, stuff. If there's somebody waiting in the car and you just decide to end, maybe because I get picked up this way, or the train works better for me, I'm gonna park at the end, you don't know if that person's going to come out.
Yeah.
And when I last spoke, I talked about being there at 5 o'clock in the morning, dropping a car off with my wife, and a person came up to me with one of the granny grocery carts. Hey, can you help me with the train? I'm like, I don't know anything about it. Well, they said there's a big tree down and it's going to be delayed. I'm like, the kiosk will tell you. I don't know. But here was a person, 5 o'clock in the morning, walking up to me in the dark. I had no idea what was in the granny bag. I was scared. I tried to keep him off at a distance.
Tom, and Cornell, you're the only two, I think, here that park in that lot. That back corner, you can then walk down. Do residents walk?
Yes.
Down that?
Lackawanna, yes.
They do.
Yes, they do. But Lackawanna has lights.
So, I know, but you have to get from the back rear to Lackawanna.
Yes.
And that's the
There is a
part,
pathway right there, that's why you
I
can-
know, but if you
can
can't really
see-
see it so clearly.
Thank you for making my point. Yes.
Here's the thing, right? There's periods of the year, right, where it gets dark at 5 o'clock at night, that it's an issue because the train unloads the bulk of its people by 6:30, quarter to 7, right? At 7 o'clock, by the time I'm getting in that train station, there's 20 cars left, if that. Right? So you're really talking about a 1.5 hour, not even 1.5, because 5 o'clock it still kind of, sort of can see something. So you're talking about an hour and a half worth of light
But there's
that you
still
need.
20 cars, though. I mean,
But the lot is empty at 20, the lot hold, how many does the Gillette hold? 110?
Okay, but how many?
It's over 100, so the lot is relatively empty.
Well, what about Sterling, which was empty, and I took those pictures, and it's lit up with 5 lights like Luna Park?
I don't know how they got
Not,
that.
not
Yeah.
saying what they did in the past, and I'm not looking for parity. I'm not looking for 5 or 6 lights.
Well, there are 3 lights on the very bright LEDs, I might add, on the walkway,
The station platform.
the station
Yes,
platform.
and if you're
that-
close to
that
the
light-
platform, you're okay.
Right,
If
that
you're
light-
walking to by Jersey Avenue where the bluff, where the bluff, whatever you want to call it, where the tree-lined area is very, very dark. So if you're one of the last people to get in, or however it works, and you end up parking there, you have no idea. You have to walk through cars. You don't know if somebody's there.
I mean, I
You have to
park
walk
that
to your-
corner all the time, so, and I've never had an issue in that corner.
now, you're a big guy, so
Well, but we're not exactly a crime-ridden.
I understand that. Look, I don't want to speak for the other committee members, but for me, it was always about how do we find funding. If I could ask our administrator to perhaps reach out to NJ Transit, even though it's not their responsibility, maybe they could
If I-
assist.
Okay, so, so I had a meeting with New Jersey Transit a few weeks ago to update our contracts for the parking lots, to discuss that. So I brought this issue up. They said they're gonna look into it, they're gonna get back to me. They seemed receptive, but again, for them, it was the same issue that it is everywhere, it's funding. So they were told they don't have a lot of money to spend, but they're gonna, they're gonna get back to me. So I'm gonna wait to hear from them. I'll give them another couple weeks, and then, I'll contact them. Also, I don't know if Mayor, after this discussion, I'd ask Chief Naga to look into the lot, like calls that they've had at the lot. I don't know if you want him to speak to what he found there.
Okay, yeah, I'd love to.
I just will remind you that JCP&L was approached about that, and they turned us down.
That is
They
correct.
did.
They did not.
They didn't.
They turned us down, he said.
We had the storm come through, and we never got back to the meeting on site.
No, well, I apologize, Tom. I actually called them, and
Oh, I did.
they turned us down.
Maybe it turns down.
Maybe just had the wrong person talking.
So, good evening. I'm not here necessarily to speak on whether or not lighting should be placed there, but what I can tell you is I can give you specific statistics. Since we received the initial complaint regarding that gentleman with the shopping cart, I guess it was, the officers were immediately told to conduct posts, and I think I shared that with some of the committee members. They immediately went out there seven straight mornings between 5:40 a.m. 4:45 a.m. and 5:20 a.m. 0 contacts were made with any subjects. As a matter of fact, they didn't come in contact with anybody during that time. They also conducted a total of since March 1st, they conducted 125 posts at that lot. It can be a combination of either a foot post or parking there momentarily, or checking parking passes. And there was zero contacts, 0 criminal activity since March 1st. So you're correct, it's not crime-ridden. We've had no criminal activity there since March 1st.
Have we, you may not know this offhand, but have we ever had any issues safety related? Somebody got hit coming out, almost hit coming out, filed a complaint? I mean,
Off of memory, I can pull the actual statistics off of it. Off of memory, probably in the last 14, 15 years, I believe we had one criminal mischief incident. And I think it was damage to some of the stuff on the waiting area there on the platform.
okay.
I think we've had one incident that I can,
And nothing safety, like nobody got hit?
no,
Okay.
but I can give you
God
specific
forbid.
numbers.
Okay, thank you. You could, please.
I would just like to add an old axiom, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So just because it didn't happen yesterday doesn't mean it won't happen tomorrow. And we know that when it's plowed out during the snowstorms, that the snow between the cars doesn't necessarily get cleaned up. And if you can't see it, you can get hurt.
And I am concerned personally because of some people actually walk to Lackawanna by that back corner. Again, I'm not speaking for the others, and maybe they can join in. For me, it's just a question of finding funding for a light. Whether it's solar generated, motion activated, or however we do it. I think you've made, for me, a compelling case that one light in that corner is justified.
And if it's, and it could be directed out, just from that corner out towards the parking area, which it takes a very dark area and gives it at least some illumination that, I don't know, it's better than nothing.
Do we know how much we're actually talking about as far as funding for a light?
I honestly don't have any.
Tom, you had come up with a possible cost?
What was the request of JCP&L that they denied?
Would they pay for a light?
And they said no?
It's
But-
on our property.
Well, they said they'd
We
put
made-
one, they said they'd put one up on one of their poles on the street. and
Right, because we
shine
pay
light
for the
on it,
lights.
right?
That one, but I didn't ask that. I asked
But
back
that
in this
doesn't
corner.
do it.
Right. That doesn't help us? No.
There are already lights there.
Yeah.
There are already lights on no.
Yeah. I mean, like you, Mayor, I mean, I share that, some concern here, and it would be good to be able to put a light in there, and I'd be interested just to find out how much it would actually cost, given that,
Maybe we should task Paul with coming up with some ideas on lighting?
yeah, I think that
Just
would
to
be good.
get a rough estimate?
Yep.
Absolutely, I think that makes sense.
Yep.
And, look, I share Cornell's point, and we joke that he's the Prince of Darkness, but I like the town having lights only where necessary. The thing is, I think you've made a compelling case that, in this example, it is necessary.
I believe so.
And you might want to use a flash as well, whenever you're photographs.
In fact, I did. Thank you very much. Please consider.
Thank you. I know this has been a long process, but
That's okay.
we'll get there.
Rome wasn't built in a day. If there's anything I can do to help the situation, please let me know. You've got my name and number.
That we do.
I don't know how much I can do for you, but anything I can do, I'd be glad to.
The last time you offered that, you got appointed to a board, so
Did, and I'm still on it. It's fun. Actually, I like it.
thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you very
Tom.
much. Appreciate your
Thank
time.
you.
Any other member of the public? At this point, what I'd like to do is ask Mr. Sweeney to come to the mic. For those who don't know, Tom has been our worked for DPW for nearly 25 years. He has accepted a position with another town. This is where I usually go for a cheap joke, but I don't want to do it this time. Tom is a dear friend, and we thank you for all those wonderful years you've been here. You've been an exemplary employee, but you do what's best for your family and for you, and so I applaud you and thank you for everything you've done for Long Hill Township.
Well, I want to thank you and this committee for a really great career. 25 years of working for this town and for these residents was very good. You know, I raised a family. I had my 3 kids were born after I got employed here, and it was a good career. But I found another opportunity, and I feel it's in my best interest. But I do want to thank all of you. And like I told Nancy, I'm there to help with any information on who's going to take my position. You know, I've got 25 years of knowledge of this town, and I'm still there for you.
There's probably nobody that knows this town better because you've seen every...
Kenny Folger.
Ken, where are you? Ken, do you want to be DPW director?
Yeah. And you know, I'm really thankful. I've been getting a lot of emails and phone calls from residents congratulating me on where I'm going and thanking for my service. And it's kind of funny because some of them are calling me and saying, you know, you did promise to fill that pothole. Can you get it done before you go? And I'm like, well, the department's still going to be here, you know.
You also promised to do Passaic, and it's not done.
Yeah, I mean, hey, once I found out bike race was canceled,
No, I think
but we
you
would
promised-
have had it done before that
Yeah.
bike race. We were on schedule with that, but you're better off waiting until the middle of the summer when it's warm.
I don't know. I opened the meeting to the...
The only thing to say is thank you for your service and best of luck to you in the future. I mean, it's been a pleasure.
Yes, it has.
It means a lot from you guys. It was a challenging career. There was many floods, hurricanes, blizzards. There was a lot of challenges in this
What are you
town.
going to do with yourself in Randolph?
And setting up for those bike races, you know.
What are you going to do with yourself with all the time now?
I don't have to climb 22 steps a day, 10 times a day. So
Good
That's all right.
exercise.
You're welcome.
yeah, it's a new challenge. It's a new town. It's a bigger town. But with all my schooling and all that I have, I can utilize that in that town, and they're in dire need of a leader there. So
Good. Best of luck.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks to
I like
all
the
the-
beard.
Oh, yeah. See,
Great job.
No, thanks very much, Tom, for everything. You're going to be greatly missed here. Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
And don't call in sick tomorrow. I didn't say I wouldn't end with a joke. Any other member of the public who would like to speak? Seeing none, the June 13th meeting of Long Hill Township is closed.
Motion to adjourn?
Aye. You couldn't stop me as I was in process.
Nice try, though.